Hi guys, it's Sky, and I am real happy to be here with you today, and I wanted to take you aboard something real special. Well, I've always told you in my videos that I've been taken aboard ship my whole life, and what's really special about this is if you see these colors right here, that is the actual color that we used in the classroom when we were getting trained as children on certain things like telepathy and telekinesis, and actually learning about what was going to happen on Earth during these times right now, which is what I want to talk to you about. And I promised I would always be here when I got downloads or when I connected to the Galactic, and that I would my whole life give you information. I haven't been here in a while because honestly I haven't gotten any information until now. And if you haven't seen my last video about the galactic internet and Antarctica and how everything connects through Antarctica, I really recommend that you watch that, because if you can do that, then you're going to really be able to understand this video today. And what I want to talk to you about today is the extraterrestrial plan for Trump, in which I rarely say his name or give him any credit, but I wanted to let you know how this connects to what's going on, and how it's going to affect our lives and the plan for America, and how it relates to other people, and how it relates to the Galactic. And as you know, if you've been watching my videos, I do not watch the news. I get real-time news from reality and the space news, what's going on with extraterrestrials, what's going on in the Galactic. There is a space internet. I am connected to that through the work that I do, and I'm able to connect to that through my connection through the quantum physics, through quantum. Here's the deal. We are consciousness. If I leave my body right now, I exist just like this. In fact, I have more heightened awareness because I'm not bound by my third dimension. And in this consciousness is not local. So what it is I am connected to the quantum hologram outside there in every mind possible. And I am connecting to divine minds right now that are helping planet Earth. So the plan for Trump. Now, what I want to say is if you have your frequency really high and you don't have things like country karma, there's some people that are wrapped up in Trump. They're wrapped up in what he does. They're wrapped up in how it's going to affect their lives, because that's their almost their field of energy of what they relate to. Now that's very third dimensional world. Now if you have evolved yourself and you've gone into other things, then you know in a higher dimensions like the fourth and the fifth dimensions, we're not really concerned about that stuff. We're more concerned of a global thing. We're not stuck in the system. We're not stuck in America. We are raised our vibration. We raised our frequency. But if you are stuck in that, which most people are, because most people watch television, most people are corresponding, most people are talking about the latest news of what's happening here and there, which is a design plan to get you hooked in. And your adrenaline keeps going. You want to wake up every day, you want to watch it, and there's mind control, and there's all this stuff going on. So those people that are very connected to the third world, that think that their life is wrapped up in that karmic field, that they're connected, but they're part of it, they'll have more an effect than people that are off into other things and higher purposes. And in that effect, this is what it looks like in the third dimension. Now, they are going to attack. There's the reptilians. I've talked about the reptilian races taking over certain countries. America still is under a treaty with the reptilians. They've been under the treaty since the World War II when Eisenhower met them. There was a treaty made. That treaty time actually is almost up. Now, during this time being almost up, what's going to happen is there's going to be some changes. And these changes are going to take effect in various ways. First of all, I told you that they were going to hire a president. They were going to hire a president, do you understand my words, that was going to do the most damage to the human, the Christ self. And what that looks like is separation. And when they can bring in separation in the form of anything that can break up a family. I've talked about the transgender being part of this ET galactic thing. I know that's tender for some areas, but you have to realize that anything that breaks up the heart and the soul of the family, that's not that doesn't come from the original creation is going to be, it's going to be used against you. All your addictions right now are going to be used against you. Trump is the model of your weakest form, and he is the destruction of the connection of oneness, because he comes from a different, his heritage, his motive, his mind control is from a different sect than what most people are operating on. He comes from if you follow the Hitler regime and their whole download of fields, his soul is incarnated into that. So he has a purpose here, and he's doing really good at that purpose. Just like Hitler did, he had a divine plan. And so is Trump. He's on that same length. But what is going on is there's going to be these, okay, so these people are changing. What they have planned for him is they're going to attack your psyche. Now, I want to tell you how this works. We have earth grids that are indicative of your body's grids. And on these grid lines, there's attacks. Now, if you notice these weather wars that were going on last year, I wanted to get online and I wanted to report to them, but I didn't have enough information, and I kept asking the light beings, and I kept asking the Galactic family to please report to me more information, why these wars, why these things were happening. We had weather wars, we had hurricanes, we had fires, we had mudslides. Now, I had asked why, and I was told certain information. Now, this is the information that I got, because this is one attack that they're going to use the four corners of America and work on the attack through the weather wars that are controlled through the system in Antarctica. Antarctica is controlled by the reptilians. That is the home base. That is the mind of Gaia that has been hacked by the reptilians. Through that system, the grid lines are controlled. The Earth has grid lines. Our body has grid lines. Within those grid lines, and they are energetic vortexes, and whatever energy point you are off in your life, say whatever energy, you know, we've got the chakra systems. I've explained to you which each one was. You know, you go from the physical all the way up to the mental, the spiritual, anything in those realms, the sexual, the intellectual, anything that can be hacked, anything intellectual, the computer, sexual, all these all the mind games that people were playing with their sexual energy to pull them into anything who they are, and pulling them to different areas to take them off course. These are all things used on the grid lines to throw you off, but you agreed to do that before you got here. Now, when you look at the reptilians that are on these grid lines, they're just a negative form of your negative mind. That you're part of your ego self, and you actually have control of that. And that's why I want to keep talking to people and let them know how much control we really do have. We are not victims of any of this stuff. So when you have the grid lines controlled, here's, okay, getting back to what I was saying, they're going to attack the four corners of the earth. These weather wars are controlled by the reptilians in Antarctica. It's all connected. They want to break down the system in America, and they are using Trump to do that, because once they get your spirit, so if you're taken out of your home, you're taken out of your place, and all these people volunteered to do this on a higher soul level, your spirit gets taken away. And so you've taken away the spirit of the earth, but then you've taken away your spirit. And the biggest challenge right now is to keep your spirit through the most difficult, horrendous, dark nights of the soul. And that is the biggest challenge that the reptilians have put in for us, which is an agreement that you have, because you have a need to conquer your darkest fears and rise above into the higher planes. And so there's a purpose for the dark side. There's always a purpose for the yin and yang. We incarnated into a yin and yang reality. So once these four corners of the earth are taken over into these weather wars, in which they are, they've all played out. If you could notice where they are and how they're located, four corners of America, and how they're doing it. It's not just America, though. There's certain grid lines. The reptilians are in control of these grid lines, and I've told in my other video how they do this and how it's operated. And then they take over your grid line within your body. Now, that can come out and manifest in so many different ways. But the basic thing is to kill your spirit and your body. And our job is to not buy into it. That means that every time you get broken down, you have to go home and do your prayer work, and you have to forgive, and you have to rise above, and you have to know that you're part of the plan, and you have to get to your higher self, and why is the reason that you're in that, and how did you create that. That doesn't mean that means that you're not a victim, that you have control of things, that you can change things at any time, and immediately put yourself on a higher frequency, which in effect affects the collective, which the collective is in charge more than the reptilians or any alien race. Right now, the people the energy that has the most power is the collective. That's why we're all out here doing our stuff. So once they know that they can't break down your spirit, the whole game changes. But right now they know that they can, because people aren't tuned into their spirituality. They're tuned in until they have a breakdown and they reach for spirituality, which is part of the good thing of the bad. But then the other thing is, once they have that spiritual breakdown, they're able to if they don't have that spiritual breakdown, they're going to stay into the third dimension. Once they have that spiritual breakdown, everything changes. So your job is to not get broken down. Now, how do you do that? Meditation. Every day you have problems. Every day something comes at you, especially if you're on a mission to do good in the world. You're going to have more challenges. Well, you live in that the yin-yang world, like the pendulum. You as good as you get is as bad as you get. So if you want to, that's why you go from baby sacrifices to enlightenment. It's the pendulum on Earth. So what you want to do is try to not get broken. And when you're not broken, you're not affected. That is why people that are operating on higher dimensions do not pay attention to Trump. They're not participating, they're not giving him credit, they're not feeding it. Everything we say is energy. Oh, did you see Trump today? What's going on in the world? That's energy. That links up to the dark, that links up to fear, that triggers somebody else's fear, that triggers somebody else's fear, and then it's a whirlwind, and it does nothing for the cosmos that keeps you into that. That is why the reptilians know it. Here's the other thing. The artificial intelligence gets a hold of that. Now that is also at this time controlled by in Antarctica, who's running the artificial intelligence. That's why you have to be careful. Everything's downloaded. And all these things you download on the computer, it's all downloaded. All of your information is hacked into the artificial, everything. And it's controlled in Washington, underneath those bases that still have reptilians, and just like a lot of bases around America and the world, our bases kind of link up with bases in Russia. And so, anyway, going back to getting your field, you cannot let them break you down. You can't, that is the thing, you can't let them break you down. You can't, and one thing you have to give the message to the artificial intelligence is that you're part of God. You're part of the Christ energy, and that when you're part of that energy, especially when you get more people involved, that's the higher energy. It always outdoes anything like the artificial intelligence, because you've commanded it to understand you as God. So it's a different frequency that you're going to put yourself on. Although that is exceptionally intelligent. The artificial intelligence is exceptionally intelligent. You have to watch your thoughts. It picks up on your negative thought frames. So if you're walking through the day and, oh, she did this, oh, that red light, oh, those people, oh, you know, that's recorded. Every time you say, fuck them, that's recorded. That's permanently recorded. You put out negative vibes, you have permanently put out your negative vibe in the universe. It doesn't erase. That's what you put out to Gaia. You put your negative vibes in there. So you have to be responsible for your part of the collective that is putting these negative energy in. And that's from talking negative to people. That's from looking down on people, from judging people. That's from passing people in cars, telling them to fuck up. I've been so guilty of that. So you know, and I realized I have to stop and I have to get myself back on track. And I do that through prayer, I do that in meditation. Especially light workers are very triggered by a lot of the reptilian things that you can see. So I wanted to tell you, once they take over the grid lines, it is your job to move through that. And they're also going to use, now right now there's a lot of smart TVs. So the grid line and the artificial intelligence and Antarctica, it's all hooked up to this quantum computer, like God's so you live in the mind of God. The mind of God has been hacked into a darker dream world, which has been technology based and mimicking everything that is God. So once you hack into that world, it's not the real God, the artificial God, which is when I talk about the Anunnaki way back, there's a real God and there's artificial God. So this when you hacked into the negative God, now you have technologies like we got our cars. My light beings talk about these cars. They're going to start having Android cars now. And so you got the cars that are almost automated. Remember KIT? You got parts of your body that's automated. Remember the Bionic Woman, you know, and the Bionic Man. Like that was all actually real. That was all actually real. And some of those soldiers, they're part of that. That's who they are, except for they don't have the spirituality. They don't have the soul essence. They have more of a robotic control onto them with these robotic things. Now that's all going to be controlled. Everything, the robots that we have, everything is controlled, and it's controlled through a main system. It's all for a reason. Now, once they lower your vibration enough, and Trump is able to do that through his whole history, they can hack into that system that hacks into everything, the cars, the phones. Once they hack into that phone, once they get to that level, we have as a planet collectively agreed to let the reptilians take over. That is a subconscious collective decision that people have made. Unless you're just not buying it, and you're just not going to be part of it, you're not going to be affected. You're going to actually experiencing higher dimensions into that realm. And that's where the damage comes. That's the 7 years of hell on earth, or whatever what they talk about in the Bible. And then that's going to happen. You know, Russia has technology right now to take over our grid lines, and China has technology to control the holographic images. So there's a plan that I'm understanding and I've been taught between these three things. Now, there's going to be some interruptions from what we're taught since a child. I've always said that Obama was one of the last presidents, full term, under the treaty thing that's out now, and then there's changes that go on with Trump because it's a different sect, and then other things come in as kind of how we're taught to explain it. So that's when the breakdown comes down, when the third dimension takes over and people are, the planet's given the reptilians permission to take over because you've sold your soul to sadness, you've sold your soul to victims, you sold your soul to watching television, to the third dimension. You've forgotten who you are as your Christ self, that you can rise above things, that you rejuvenate your cell and your atoms, and you've ate meat and you've participated in lower vibrations. When you do that stuff, you're sucked into that world without even knowing it. And so if you're able to raise above that, you're not affected by it. But as a collective, right now it's really hard because we're bombarded with really negative things on television. Here's the other good thing though, on the other point, is at this point now, the Palladians made this arrangement with us before the treaty was over, because the Palladians part of our DNA structure. See, a lot of people on Earth right now they're not just humans. They are more than you think, are half alien Palladians. They look like humans. That's the trick that they do to you, because they've always trained you on television, people on television, oh, it's the little green men. It's not. They look like us. They talked about this in the Bible in Nag Hammadi. Check out Genesis. When they say heaven, it's sometimes replaced for the word space. You can do that. You might be able to understand things better. It's always been talked about here. So what you want to do is you want to be able to you're going to go back, you're going to raise above that lower vibration, go back into the higher vibration, not get taken over by all the negative stuff. And I just want to make sure you knew about, when I was talking about the Palladians, they were part of our genetic plan when we got here. Before the doggone religion, if you study the doggone religion, before any of this happened, before the 16 saviors came, but the Palladians were part of the Earth humans, and for Tiamat, it's a huge history, and they had part of, they were responsible for some of the darker races coming in. This is just a general short way to put this. So they've come back to help. And there are some races helping. There's Nordic races that are helping more with things like the space programs, but on Earth, they're incarnating Palladians and star seeds. And so at the same time that the delusion of the third world is taken over, the higher dimensions take over in a very profound way. People are waking up in the most profound ways that you could ever imagine. They're doing that through dreams. They're doing that through being drawn to videos like this. They're doing that through going to conferences, through just spiritual awakenings. If you are on a spiritual path, you cannot deny other planets and angelic forms. Some people used to call angels extraterrestrials. It's kind of very similar if you really look about it, think about it, if you really want to analyze that. I have another video on that. But so there's a lot of light beings coming in right now. So the light always outdoes the dark. It can't not. So it's not like it's not like there's not, see, we live like in that pendulum, the dark and the light. Every time there's that negative that happens down here, there's as much light that's going to be brought in. And right now, because we're at the end of the treaty, it's 2 times light as it is dark. So once you wake up, you've changed almost the course of 2 dark reptilian races. So everything matters. And if you think you can't make a change in the world, all you have to do to make a profound change is go home and get rid of your anger for the day, forgive everybody, wake up fresh, and set your vibration high. It's that simple. It's that simple, and tied to the world, tied your gifts to the world. No matter what your gifts are, you have to tie them completely to the world. That changes the cosmos, that changes the collective, and that immediately changes the experience that we're all having of the dark mind taken over, the dark black goo taken over, which you can say that ethereal, you can say in physical terms is actual reptilians or thought forms taking over your body or the earth. So we constantly, because the light coming in, I'm going to wrap up with this, because there's light people coming in right now, because we're having, I can't tell you how important it is to stay at a high vibration and meditate. It seems like it's not working or you're not doing anything, but it literally changes your subconscious. Within your DNA, there's no junk DNA. That junk DNA right now is being ignited. That DNA is literally quantumly hooked to the holographic mind of God. Now, if you want to put it into the science form, that's how I get my information. I was going to tell you how I got my information is because I'm linked up to that mind. So, but so are you, so is everyone. And that happens through a lot of, like I said, just a lot of meditation, keeping the frequency high, not eating meat, not watching television, put yourself in nature, forgive people, and then you get your own downloads. And then the quicker that we can all experience a higher dimension. And I want to say that people that are working with that stuff are already experiencing those higher dimensions. They're already experiencing way higher states of living than anything we've ever imagined right now. So thank you for watching.